My name is Omoumi Ogurotimi. I am the executive lead at Gender Mobile Initiative. We've spent the last 3 to 4 hours building consensus on the localization of the Model Anti-Sexual Harassment in Tertiary Education Institutions Policy.
And as Gender Mobile Initiative, we have one mandate. The mandate is to support state government and their higher education institutions to adapt this policy. We know that policies do not necessarily translate into outcomes. It's not that when you have policies, then it means that sexual harassment would end. No. But we know that institutional transformation starts with putting in place a blueprint or a framework, a policy framework that would serve as a blueprint for the kind of changes that we envision for our higher education institutions, so that when students and staff go to the school, whether to learn or to work, they can go to school with the mindset that they will be safe and that they would have healthy and equitable access to education.
Sexual harassment policy covers definition of sexual harassment and related misconduct, rights and responsibilities of all members of the institution, procedures for reporting incidents, confidentiality and safety involved in just sexual harassment should take place. What is the takeaway from this sexual harassment policy? Number 1, zero tolerance. The zero tolerance policy. Tertiary institutions adopt a firm stance against sexual harassment, empowering preventive and swift action against offenders. 2, clear reporting mechanism. The policy established accessibility, confidentiality, channel for victims and witnesses to report incidents without fear of retaliation.
In 2019 specifically, a particular documentary broke out on social media platforms. And that documentary is called BBC Sex for Grade. When that documentary broke out, it elevated conversations on sexual harassment prevalence in our fine institutions. And that reminds me of a 100-level law student in one of Nigeria's fine institutions whose academic survival was dependent on meeting the sexual demands of her professor. Because she did not agree to play ball, she was victimized, failed, and also her physical security was under threat. She had to drop out of school. There are countless experiences like that, and of course male students are also not left out. Female educators are not left out. Members of faculty and staff are not left out. So this prevalence level informed the design of the Anti-Sexual Harassment Policy approved by the Federal Ministry of Education. And we all know that in Nigeria, when policies are designed, it's critically important that there is a lot of work done to implement or to work on the implementation of that policy.
I remember an incident. A student came to the office, her breast fell down. Yes, sometimes the breast fell down. Did you rape her? It's such a... When exam parents coming together for 50 years, we witness this. It's a state of what? Mind. Mainly, their dress actually has to do with the men. Fashion is global, and the world is global. Therefore, how come that ladies who wear bikini at the beach swimming, why are they not raped? Why is it that young girls who stay with other persons, who still dress like Reverend sisters, like deeper life, are still molested and raped by their guardians? It's what is the state of mind. So that's what I just want to say. Make a suggestion about the legal framework, sorry to say, is weak. And the stigma attached to reporting rape is weak. When you need reports, what you carry, you go there. Why you go a house? What you follow? The question is, if my car door is not locked and somebody trespasses might chattel and steal something from it, that a little law exonerate the thief. The wife of Uriah dressed loosely, and David was enticed. Does that free David from God's punishment? But the stigma, that's what I want my sister to address, the creation of awareness in people who receive the reports. People who receive what? The reports at the high level. And the prosecution. So if I really get a report a case and the suspect is not prosecuted, what message is it passing to other persons?
So it's important that every higher education institution goes back to their institution to set up what we call a technical working group. So if as a student, maybe you're looking to get a hostel allocation, and the hostel porter says you have to sleep with me before I give you a very good hostel. If I have to go back to my hostel to think about it, and I have to say yes, because there are consequences for saying no, that is not consent. Such an educator is apprehended. You cannot claim consent as a justification for what happened, because the institution will look at this holistically to say, this is the context of unequal power relations. Consent was definitely obtained by force, whereas consent is supposed to be freely given, and consent is even reversible. So this, constitutes part of what we call preventative education. And we have co-designed a manual. The manual is called the Sexual Assault Prevention and Consent Education Module, which institutions are beginning to mainstream into their institutional practices.
As an institution, sexual harassment is a criminal offense and it cannot be concluded. If you want to see to it that is adequately concluded, you have to hand over the perpetrator or the accused to the legal authority to deal with. In this case, it can be ICPC, law enforcement agency, or take the matter to court. Thank you very much.
I think the whole essence is just to ensure that the policy on sexual harassment among students of higher institutions is domesticated.
And yeah, it's really a nice one. It's good to give the awareness, create the awareness about sexual harassment. So I'm happy to be here today and I learned a lot from the program.
My name is Obaro Igagifo. I actually work as a special assistant to His Excellency, the Governor of Delta State, as his aide on student affairs. Now, the program that we had today has to do with it's called the Stakeholders Engagement on Anti-Sexual Harassment Policy Domestication in Delta State. It was actually anchored, I'm the convener, that's my office, and working with the Ministry of Higher Education in collaboration with Gender Mobile Initiative. So what the policy is all about, the policy is a policy that has been handled at the national level. So what we do at the state is to adopt it to suit our reality here. So that's why we invited the tertiary institution, the heads of the tertiary institutions in Delta State, both federal, state, and even the School of Nursing. We invited them, and they have all come. So we had a meeting, we have deliberated, and the policy has been well established. So the next line that we are going to now is how to domesticate it at the various campus level. That's the CampusPal level. So that is the stage that we are. But we are very, very thankful for the higher institutions in Delta State, the way they turn out for the event and how the event actually came to go. And I thank them for their participation. Particularly, I also have to appreciate the Dean Susadebe University, who accepted to host this event. So we are so grateful for it, and it was a very wonderful thing. And you also experienced the program too. If you look at the contributions that were inside, you see that they are very, very insightful, and it tells you that there are things that are needed within the educational systems in Delta State for better enhancing. And the final thing that actually motivated us, we did this because it's something that is in line with the more agenda of His Excellency, the Governor of Delta State, which have the vision of creating opportunity for all Deltans. And what he's saying is that in every of our institutions, the institutions must be safe, and students at every point in time must have an enabling environment to learn. And that's what we are doing by saying that we want to have all our campuses to be anti-sexual for our students. And that's what the program is doing.